Welcome to this explainer. Look, right now, a massive shift is absolutely tearing through the business world. We're going to unpack exactly why corporate governance in the Middle East has evolved from, a sleepy compliance chore into a highly professionalized, incredibly strategic asset. If you operate, advise, or invest in the region, the rules of the game for 2026 have fundamentally changed.
Think about this for a second. A cyber breach today, it's immediately flagged as a governance failure. A regulatory penalty becomes a board oversight issue. This stark reality perfectly captures the interconnected risks of 2026. Global risk exposure has just made business failures so much more costly and incredibly visible because risks literally do not operate in isolation anymore. Unprofessional, informal structures are simply no longer viable if you want to survive. Your first line of business defense is the absolute professional maturity of your governance.
So, here is our roadmap for today. We'll be covering the 2026 global risk landscape, Middle East expectations, what global investors evaluate first, common corporate governance gaps, and finally, how to turn governance into a massive competitive advantage.
Section 1. The 2026 Global Risk Landscape, Interconnected Pressures.
Okay, so the global risk environment right now is basically a pressure cooker of overlapping threats. We're talking mandatory ESG accountability. And yeah, it's no longer voluntary, it's absolutely mandatory. Regulatory enforcement is intensifying right alongside escalating cyber risks, and geopolitical uncertainty is heavily dictating capital flows. Because these risks violently collide, organizations are judged entirely on how professionally their leadership navigates this storm. I mean, an ESG misreporting issue isn't just a typo anymore, it's a full-blown reputational crisis.
Historically, governance was purely defensive. It was a boardroom formality, just a legal necessity to keep the auditors at bay. But by 2026, it's a completely different beast. It is a strategic asset. It's the core of your credibility and a massive valuation multiplier. It has completely evolved from a defensive check-the-box list into a highly professional tool for driving long-term value.
Section 2. Middle East governance expectations, a profound transformation. Informal models are failing across the board right now, and regulators and partners are expecting immediate professionalization. This pressure is hitting everyone. It's hitting the 30% of transitioning family-owned enterprises that are facing massive succession risks. It's hitting the 30% of free zone companies preparing for global expansion, and it's also hitting multinational subsidiaries and regulated financial sectors. Handshake agreements? They simply don't cut it anymore. A fully professional approach is required, right now.
Section 3. What global investors evaluate first: the new due diligence.
So put yourself in their shoes. What exactly do global investors evaluate first in 2026? You'd probably guess financial performance, right? Maybe EBITDA or market share? Well, actually, investor behavior has fundamentally flipped. Today, they check how professional the house is before they even look at the price tag. Before opening your financials, investors are heavily scrutinizing board independence. They're digging deep into your risk management oversight and stress testing your compliance culture and ESG integration. To them, a company with stellar earnings but weak, informal governance is literally a ticking time bomb. It's a highly dangerous investment, but a well-governed, highly professional operation that attracts capital like a magnet, even in incredibly volatile markets.
The takeaway here is massive. Professionalizing your corporate structure isn't just about avoiding fines. It's about actively increasing your business's worth. Governance is now a literal valuation multiplier. When you sit down at the negotiating table, a professional framework adds tangible zeros to your enterprise value.
Section 4. Common corporate governance gaps, the cost of blind spots.
Let's look at the day-to-day operational divide because it's like night and day. Under weak, informal governance, risks go completely unreported, accountability is a subjective mess, and compliance is entirely reactive. And the result? Endless bottlenecks and heavily scrutinized approvals. But when you implement a strong professional framework, risks are actively anticipated and accountability is fully structured. This leads to much faster, more confident decision-making instead of constant internal conflict and eroded reputation.
In a truly professionalized entity, governance and risk are basically one and the same. Proper governance runs on a really strict four-step loop. First, you identify the risk. Next, you evaluate the exposure. Then, you escalate it appropriately to clear leadership. And finally, you control it consistently across the entire business. Regulators literally no longer tolerate companies that learn through failure. These steps absolutely must be embedded in your daily operations to stop issues before they explode.
Section 5. Governance as competitive advantage, empowering growth.
You know, strong governance does so much more than just protect the business. It genuinely empowers it. Treating governance as true functionality rather than just paperwork unlocks incredible organizational superpowers. We're talking faster regulatory approvals, ironclad investor confidence, and a razor-sharp crisis response. These are the tools that allow you to leave competitors who are still stuck just ticking boxes completely in the dust.
This hits the nail right on the head. Governance builds organizational trust, and trust is the most valuable business currency in uncertain markets. This is exactly why the professionalization of governance is the absolute backbone of modern leadership. It is the definitive mechanism that decides who remains investable, resilient, and trusted in the years to come. So I'll leave you with this one question to think about. Will you invest in governance today to lead tomorrow's markets? For businesses in the Middle East, this evolution is no longer optional. It is your single most strategic responsibility. Take a close look at your own organization. Are you truly professionalized enough to survive the interconnected